Hi everybody, my name is Paula and welcome to our first Portuguese class together. Today we're going to learn how to introduce ourselves in Portuguese and I'm going to give you some tips as well on pronunciation, okay? So let's get started. Alright, so some of the basic words that you're going to use when introducing yourself, I would say in any language, would be hi and hello. So the translation for these words would be oi for hi, and olá for hello. So when you say olá, make sure to emphasize the a instead of the o, okay? So I know that if you speak Spanish, the pronunciation would probably be stronger on the o, olá. But in Portuguese, the pronunciation and the emphasis should go to the a. Whenever you see this accent on top of a vowel, this accent will indicate that particular vowel is the strongest vowel. No matter if the vowel is coming together in a syllable with another vowel, if that accent is on top of a particular vowel, that accent gives the vowel the strength, okay? And it makes the sound open. So when you say olá, not only the letter A here is the strongest letter and the one with most emphasis, but it's also open. It's an open sound. Olá. All right? So when you introduce yourself, you need to introduce your name. And to do that in Portuguese, you would say eu sou. Eu sou. I am. Okay? You could say that, or you could also say my name is. My name is. To say my name is, you say meu nome é. Meu nome é. What's interesting here that you can notice is we have once again that particular accent opening the sound of the E, of the vowel, right? É. When I say meu is a closed sound. Meu. Nome, this E right here at the end, has an even more closed sound. Nome. You go from meu, nome é. Nome é. Same thing with eu. It's a closed sound. Eu. Eu sou. Meu nome é. So once you have the accent, that accent is going to make a difference, okay? It will make the sound open. Same thing with olá é. My name is can also be eu me chamo. So you have here literally 3 ways that you can introduce yourself. You could say eu sou, I am. You could say my name is, meu nome é. Or you could say eu me chamo. I call myself. It would be the literal translation for this. Eu me chamo, and then you say your name. Say, hi, my name is. Oi, eu me chamo. Or you could say, oi, meu nome é. Or you could also say, oi, eu sou. So you have here 3 ways that you can introduce yourself to other people. Okay? Once you introduce yourself, I think it's polite to ask someone else's name, right? So you'd like to know who that person that you're talking to, you would like to know their name as well. So you would ask, what's your name? And to do that, you would say, qual é o seu nome? We learned today already that whenever you have the accent called agudo on top of a vowel, it opens the sound of that vowel, right? So once again, we have é right here. Qual é o seu nome? Seu has a closed I. Seu. Qual é o seu nome? But then you're looking at the English version and you're like, wait a second. In English, I see what, which is qual. I see is, which is é. I see your, which is probably seu. And that's correct. Your. would be seu, name, nome. What is this O right here? The O is a definite article. As we go along, you see that Portuguese uses a lot of definite articles because I would say as a Romance language, you would have very distinct feminine and masculine words, and the vowel comes there to support those words. In this case, the vowel O is giving support to nome because nome is a masculine word in Portuguese. Okay? So you would say qual é o seu nome, but not necessarily if you skip the O in this particular question. Qual é seu nome? I would say most people wouldn't even notice. They would just say their name to you and ask your name back. So just heads up here. But if you don't use, for some reason, the definite article here, qual é seu nome or qual é o seu nome, should be fine. Okay? Honestly, it should be fine. All right, so now you know each other's names. Everybody introduced themselves, and you want to say nice to meet you or pleasure to meet you. To do that, I'm going to show you two versions. So I'm going to show you the short version, which is muito prazer, or prazer em conhecer você. So these two versions say the exact same thing. Nice to meet you. The difference is just one is going to be more informal. So if you say muito prazer, you're just saying a pleasure, much pleasure, something like that. Prazer em conhecer você is more formal, and I would say for most Brazilians, you wouldn't need necessarily to use a super formal way of introducing or saying that you like to meet that person. So you could just say muito prazer, which would be loosely much pleasure. And it's inferred that you mean it's a pleasure to meet you. Okay? So it's all inferred. Muito prazer. And you can see that the R has different sounds as well. So if you have an R here that is between a consonant and a vowel, you have this pra, harsher sound. At the end of words, depending on where you are, the letter R in Brazil will have more of an H sound in English, a more like sound, okay? So it would be prazer, muito prazer. If you go to a particular area in Brazil that for some reason they don't pronounce these R at the end of a word as this aspired sound, is kind of like breathy sound, right? Muito prazer. It could be prazer, muito prazer. So depending on the region of Brazil that you go to, you're going to have this sound. I know that in Lisbon, I used to listen to a lot of pop rock from Portugal, and at least these people that I listened to, this band, they would pronounce the R at the end of words as ar. So they would say prazer, which is not the case. I would say in most of Brazil, people would just use the H sound, the sound. So it would be prazer. So it doesn't really matter. It's up to you what you would go with, whatever is easier for you. But I would say most people wouldn't really care as long as they can understand what you're saying. If you want to say prazer, because it's easier, go for it. If you want to say prazer, great. Okay? And then the long version, prazer em conhecer você. Okay? Você meaning you. Você. Okay? Moving on. So now we're going to put this all together. Hi, my name is Paula. What's your name? Oi, meu nome é Paula. Qual é o seu nome? Qual é o seu nome? Or you could say, Oi, me chamo XYZ. Qual é o seu nome? So let's say that I meet someone and that person says, Oi, Paula. Meu nome é José. Muito prazer. And then I respond back to José, Oi, José. O prazer é meu. Nice to meet you too. If the person is saying much pleasure, right? The translation being much pleasure, you could respond, the pleasure is mine. O prazer é meu. So that would be a short version as well for nice to meet you too. O prazer é meu. Okay? So I think that's it for today. I'm gonna wrap up and, introduce yourself down in the comments using Portuguese. Say your name, and let's move on from here. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.